Welcome back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name's Courtney Shand, and I'm hosting with my dear friend, Brianna Mosier.
Hello.
The intention of the show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural, masculine and feminine energetic core. We love talking about this, so much so that we are coming back for more today on that very subject. Before we dive in, Bri, tell my friends who you are, what you do, the magic you share with the world.
My work in the world is helping driven, ambitious women embrace their feminine energy while growing their businesses and attracting in healthy, empowered, masculine partners into their world. My background's also in sex, love, and intimacy, and my educational background is in psychology. So this is all I do all day long, is study people, specifically the driven woman, to help her get more of what she wants, and also maybe what she doesn't know that she wants. Intimacy, connection, pleasure, internal safety and security, feminine energy, all those juicy things. So that's my work in the world. And Courtney, your work in the world is?
Yes, I am a feminine energy mentor. I really specialize in helping both men and women learn how to create that inner stability within themselves so that they can be more authentic in their connection building process and show up with the most authentic version of them, kind of looking at things from a generational perspective and also creating that really nice, solid, secure foundation so that you can set the boundaries and feel less wobbly.
Okay.
Yes, I love it too. So today we are going to dive into what we're doing here on For the Love of Men podcast, a little For the Love of Men episode.
Yes.
If you will. Bri brought up such a good point that this is something that is still something that comes up in client sessions, things that as women that we hear a lot of times. I'll let you kind of take it away if you want.
No, you were doing great.
Well, thanks.
If you want a full send.
Okay. What we stand for on the show is to celebrate men doing their emotional work, learning to heal and integrate that masculine energy and feminine energy, and also celebrating women in their process of integrating more of that masculine energy so that their feminine energy can really shine as well. Becoming more of a whole, healthy person and partner is what we're here for. So we know that the generational impact of that is that it creates healthy family dynamics, it creates healthy kids, it creates healthy communities, workplaces, economies, all of the things are impacted by us showing up as the healthiest version of ourselves. And so it's our life's work.
Truly.
I would say our life's work. So that being said, something that we've been noticing that Bri pointed out before we got started is that there's a lot of space for women to, as they're coming into this healing space, catch videos from TikTok, other social media platforms of people bashing men. And we take a hard stand against bashing men. It's one thing to hold accountable, and it's another thing to blame and be mean and villainize and break connection on purpose. That's not building a healthier version forward. So what comes to mind for you when you think about this?
Great intro, Court.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you for the reassurance. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. I would just, to further what you've said is, I work with a lot of women who really want healthy relationships, and they want it with an empowered masculine partner. They want to be really in their feminine, and sometimes there's duplicity in their vibration. Part of my work is around energies and vibration manifestation. So if you love that, that's all I do. But they kind of have what I call duplicity in their vibration. So they really want to be with an empowered masculine partner, but they spend the majority of their thoughts when they think about men, relationships, and love, putting down men or believing the worst in them. And it's not that it's untrue. Let me be fair and clear about that. Nobody's saying that there aren't wounded or disempowered men in the world, or that men don't behave badly. To be fair, people of all genders are wounded and disempowered and behave badly. And we will have an episode coming out on the manipulation piece that women sometimes play into, because that is not, I feel like
We're going there.
that is not talked about enough.
Yep.
When we talk a lot about how men behave in ways that aren't empowered, but we don't always talk about how women can be manipulative. So come back for that. But so women have this duplicity in their vibration where in one breath they really want to be with a healthy, empowered, masculine man. On the other breath, they're saying, but all men are dogs. They only want one thing. They're only looking for sex. They don't want commitment. They're just using you. They manipulate you. They tell you what you want to hear. And if you're a woman listening, I bet you anything, the majority of women resonate a little bit with that. There are parts that go, that's been true in some of their experiences.
I feel validated.
Right. And so let's pause on there. Courtney has a brilliant perspective on this, which changed, being her friend, changed how I thought about things too. When we've been through, trauma, and those of you, I've talked about my story publicly, parts of it, and there are things I haven't shared publicly as well, but it's very easy for your body to go into protection mode and feel victimized by what happened to you. And there is a point where that's appropriate and actually necessary, which I'll let Courtney expand on. And there's a purpose to why we do this, why we kind of live in our pain story and live in our wounds. So can you share that perspective on victim energy?
Thank you. Yes, this came to me a few weeks ago that the reason that we would live in our victim energy, there's something in it for us, and it is there for us to get the compassion we need to rise into the victorious one. We cannot make that kind of hero's journey without seeing ourselves as the opposite of what we want. We won't go in the right direction if we're not able to see where we are and see that it's not where we want to go. And so that's something that I've been challenging my clients with, is the purpose of being in your victim energy, to take the shame out of it. We shame ourselves when we find ourselves in the victim energy, like, why can't I just get this together? Or, oh, she's being so victim-y, like, you've talked about this enough already. And I would challenge you to look for, where do you need more compassion? And it's often, in my experience, that we need it from ourself. We haven't validated it for ourself yet, and therefore we're going to keep pulling on it from other people. And this was 100% my reality. My MO was, I need for you to listen to me. I need you to listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, because I wasn't feeling heard. And the reason that I wasn't feeling heard is because I wasn't able to own that that was my lived reality. And once I honored that, things open up. You're able to step within your body and move your frame, your whole body forward in the story. And that often is a very simple shift after that, once you're able to say, you know what, this is true for me. And I hear it, I honor it, and I'm going to honor it and set the boundary, hold the boundary, take the action, whatever the next thing that's calling for you is. That is what's going to move you into your victorious energy.
Well said. The peace that you're seeking when you're in victim energy is compassion. And also maybe self-trust, self-validation.
Yeah, that's the skill.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
Well, validation is what they look for.
Yes.
You're suggesting self-source that.
Yes. Yeah, because otherwise you're going to continue to keep reaching for that. There's never going to be enough supply until you can bring that inside and say, actually, this is what happened for me, and I see it, I honor it, I'll be with it for as long as I need to. I don't know if this is the case for you, but for me, once I get to that point where I'm like, I will be with this for as long as I need to. It's a shorter amount of time than I anticipate. I think it's going to be the next 10 years, and it's like 10 minutes or a day of, like, you know, deep emotional turmoil. And then things do naturally start to unwind. That dissolves. You can kind of take off the heavy mantle and move forward.
Yeah, and it's going to take as long as it takes. I say that to my clients a lot, and go as fast as the slowest part of you. So please don't hear this and think that we're trying to rush you out of your pain. I mean, I said to Courtney after we did the episode on my story for the first time, like, I think I'm done talking about this. I think I'm just done with it. I believe myself. I know what happened. I'm kind of sick of talking about it. Like, I'm in a really happy, healthy, in love place for the last couple of years. I know what happened to me, and it sucked, and it's not stopped me. Like, if anything, it's created way more success in my life. I don't want to live in my pain story anymore. And so while it's true that I still maybe live with CPTSD, right, and these trauma responses and all of that, I got to a point where I was like kind of sick of myself. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it might sound harsh. And again, if you're not in that place, it's not making where you are wrong, because this was 2.5 years ago. It took me 2.5 years of deep mentorship, coaching, therapy, talking about it, talking to my partner about it, my friends about it, and intense. It was not like a 10-minute somatic release session for me. It's been hundreds to get this trauma out of my body, but it is possible. And I hope that you hear it. I hope you don't think I'm rushing you out of your pain, because that's not my intention. My intention is just, it is really possible to move on from it. And your body will let you know when she's ready. And until she lets you know, there's not a lot you can do other than keep leading yourself somatically,
Yes.
through the body, breath, sound, movement, to get it out.
Yeah. Such a great point.
Be patient with yourself.
Full transparency. There was something that came up for me, and I had to go back into it this week and was like, I'm gonna be here for as long as it takes. Keep telling me. Tell me your story, baby girl. I got you. It's like that in real time. Your life is still happening. You're still doing the things.
Yeah.
You're still, honoring the commitments that you've made and can participate in. And it isn't to rush you. It's to stay in touch with. And I think that's where we get disconnected, is we try to rush ourselves, and it creates a little divide, a little gap of where this part of us is. I love that you said that. Go as slow as the slowest part. Because there's a gap in where we are with our consciousness around the topic and where our felt experience is. And we have to bring those back into congruence for us to move forward together.
Right? Otherwise, it's like a weight.
Yeah, it will slow you down. Yeah.
You actually can't get around it. So if you're in a place where you find you're going, I think I'm kind of in that victim energy. I don't think that's wrong.
I don't either.
I don't think it's wrong. And some fucked up shit happened.
Yep.
And if it's really fucked up, excuse my language, then it's really fucked up, and it's really going to take time.
Yep.
So.
But I will say that the really empowering flip is to be in your victim energy on purpose. To know that you're looking for compassion and validation and empathy when you catch yourself there. I think that is the shift that will actually
make it productive.
Yes, that will get you what you're needing. It's not to judge that you're in that space. It's just if you're you're circling that drain a lot, or you have someone that you're in the vicinity that's circling that drain a lot, give them the medicine. That's what they're looking for. Give yourself the medicine. That's what you're looking for. Once you know that, you can feel less powerless, because you're actually able to say, I need some compassion right now. Yeah. Let's try that on for size and see what happens.
That's well said.
Yeah.
I do think we internally have a gauge on when we're milking it versus being productive with it, and only you know what that is. You just have to be honest with yourself about it. There are moments when I'm definitely wallowing. And if I can admit it to myself, I can get out of it faster. But for the most part, I've cleaned that energy up, and now it's all about alchemy, somatically. Feel it to heal it and move through it. I don't want to intentionally choose a vibration that feels bad if I'm not moving the energy through. Otherwise, I know what I'm attracting back, and I know how it's going to make me feel, which is the most important part, right? The inner drama feels terrible.
Yeah, not fun.
So you can gauge that within yourself. Am I having a wounded feminine milking it moment? Do I need to reel myself back in? Or am I in my empowered feminine shadow part, honoring the pain that I went through with the intention of healing it and moving it? That is not victim energy. That's healing. Yeah. I know we've kind of sidetracked, but I think this was important to say.
Yeah, that was necessary.
Yeah. So with the show, we talk about For the Love of Men, and we debated. It's so interesting now, being like a year and a half later, right? Because I remember where we were sitting, not in this house. It was my first or second house when I was here in Nashville. Yeah, when I was living in East. And we were playing with recording the podcast and what we would call it. And one of us threw out this name, what about, For the Love of Men? And then we both immediately went, I don't know, that's too provocative. People aren't ready for that. The culture at large is blaming men for everything, and women are going to tell us that we have internalized misogyny, and we really were fragile about it.
Yeah.
And I do not feel that way at all anymore. Do you feel that way?
No, we've come so far, because we went through all of those. We got called out for all of those things.
It all happened.
Handled it.
Everything we feared would happen.
Happened.
Yeah. And we didn't die.
We survived.
And actually, it really grounds us more into our truth, which is, you know, I'll just speak for myself, but I'm going to guess that you'll side on this, but feel free to add, is that all of those things are true, the pain that you go through, and that there are wounded, disempowered men. And there are also a ton of healthy, good, generous, kind, emotionally empowered and intelligent men who want long-term relationships, marriages, families they care about, being a conscious father. I know, because I'm with one.
Yeah.
Blows my mind every day, the level of compassion and empathy, but initiative taking and like really sexy masculine energy he has. They exist. I never would have found it. And by the way, I love my partner. Prior to meeting my partner, there were still really good, healthy men coming into my world. They weren't my person, which is why I let them go. Maybe we'll talk about energetic standards on another episode.
That'd be a great one.
It's kind of close to coaching territory. But the point is, there were lots of really healthy men that came in before I met him. It's not like he was one person. And so if the majority of your thoughts from an attraction, vibration-based perspective are around men being dogs, only wanting one thing, whatever, I'm repeating myself, that is what you will attract and see. You have a part of your brain called your reticular activating system that filters everything you see, is the easy way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
A good example is if you tell yourself, I'm going to look for everything that's red in the room, you will start to notice everything that's red in the room, even if you hadn't seen it before. Mm-hmm. This works to your advantage because you can start to look for the goodness of men. Mm-hmm. And it will come back into your reality and continue to compound. It will be like you opened a different door in life and walked through it.
Yep.
You'll see kind, generous, empowered men who care about women's rights and empowering women, like really amazing. Mm-hmm. If you stay in circles and tolerate conversation without the energetic boundaries that bash men and blame them for everything, it's going to be really hard to believe in the goodness of men when your circle is, you know, constantly blaming them. And again, nobody's saying that those things didn't happen. It's just you choose the reality that you invite into your world. I know that's triggering for some people, but it is actually the most empowering thing I can tell you. Mm-hmm. Because you know my story and you know I made the choice and it works. I would not blast it on the internet if it was just something I made up. It's my lived experience and all of my clients' lived experiences, you know?
Yep. We have enough of a data sample at this point to say, yep, full send on this one.
Yes.
Because it really is something that I always challenge my clients with, myself too, and I have to always check myself, is this the picture I'm wanting to paint? When I find myself in my victim energy and I'm like journaling about it, like irritated with something, I'm like, what am I wanting to paint the picture of? Is this it? Because at some point you will have to make the choice to say, this has not been happening and I'm going to focus on something else. Or I'm going to keep circling that story of, you know, men only want one thing, I have to play small, you know, I'm going to be too much. Whatever your thing is, the way that you have particularly experienced the world thus far, there is a healthier alternative. And I love that's what we do on the show, is just painting the alternative for you. If this is the menu that you can choose from. And not all of them will resonate with you, and that's fine too. It's not about checking all the boxes for the sake of it being an empowered masculine man. It's figuring out what you need across from you. Yes. That's going to be your empowered feminine energy, is knowing this is what I need across from me to stay the healthiest version of myself. That will be your empowered masculine energy compatible partner, and vice versa. We can't tell you, hey, this is what an empowered masculine energy man looks like and it only fits in this box, because that's why we say with such broad strokes, empowered masculine energy does this, or would think like this, or would approach the situation like this, because every man's going to be in a different spectrum of where he is in his development too, and we have to give them some grace if we are still in our growth process too.
Amen.
That's my thought.
Amen. When you first get in, I'll say for me, when I first got into this work, I loved having the checkbox, you know, of all the qualities. And I do think it was empowering and a necessary step, but it is a training wheel step. And then you have to move beyond it and see people as human who are growing, because I am not perfect. There's so much We teach feminine energy, and every day I check in with myself around, am I fully receiving this right now? Am I leaning back more? Do I need to express more? Where am I inhibiting myself in the bedroom or with my partner? And like actively make choices to be with those wounded parts and protected parts. It's not about getting it perfect, you know? And so your partner will be the same way. I love that you also said they're broad strokes and it's about finding what works for you. That is really it, isn't it? We have often said we all have feminine and masculine energy. And you'll probably feel like your core is one or the other and you're predominantly one energy. To what degree you weigh on either side is individual and not wrong. So if you are someone who is like 70% feminine, 30% masculine, that's great. You're probably gonna do great with a partner who's 70 masculine, 30 feminine. If you wanna be 95% feminine, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. Let us know how it goes.
But you'd wanna be with a partner who's very masculine to keep that polarity. If you like this theory and model, if it feels true for you, which you don't have to like this theory. You don't have to go with this theory and model. So anyway, I digressed.
No, I think that's so true. And it's such a self-discovery journey to allow more of your human parts to come online. And I do think that's the integration piece, or that's been my experience, is the more that I have done the work of integrating my masculine energy, the more I've actually expressed feminine energy, because it now feels safe. I can protect it. I don't have to keep it hidden. I can express more of it. And the more that I've integrated my feminine energy, the more I'm able to be with other people's emotions, or I'm able to allow the humanness and allow the gray in life. Everything doesn't have to be exactly the way that I thought that it should be, or it has to play out, or I'm feeling unsafe. I'm no longer as reactive because I can be with this broader spectrum of my internal experience. I have more language, more knowledge, more self-awareness to be with all of those pieces.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift back into where we were talking about how much we love men and shifting that perspective, right? I'm not going to put you on the spot. Okay. So we were talking before the show. Courtney was like, do you need any examples from me in this show? I said, I hadn't really thought about it. Why? And she didn't say this. She didn't say this part. But what she said was, could you please stop putting me on the spot with examples without preparing me? Because it's really fucking my shit up. I need to know what you need from me. And I said, right on. I do not need an example from you today. And I will stop doing that. In my head, I have an example, saying to Courtney, I have an example ready. And then I think I'm being generous by saying to Courtney, hey, do you have an example for this? And instead I'm blindsiding her, and she's like, are you trying to throw me an L right now? Because I only throw you W's. We settled it. And now I've forgotten what I was gonna say. Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah.
When you're shifting your perspective and you're looking for empowered masculine men examples, just a quick coaching tip, what you can do is, if people are kind of bashing on men, and you now hear us in your head, you're going, Courtney and Bree said, this is the stuff that I don't want to plague my mind with, even if it's true for them. You can think in your head, I have compassion for my friend and I believe her. And I know this happened to her. I have compassion for her, and I am not choosing to attract this reality back. I still believe in the goodness of men. And let that be your decision. I wouldn't say that to your friend. That's going to be super dismissive. But you can have your own energetic boundaries for what you decide to believe about the collective masculine. And you're not invalidating her experience if you're internally setting that boundary with yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of necessary, really.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it will definitely drain you. It will feel like part of you is, what's that word?
Split.
Yeah, fractured.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fractured.
Another one that I really like for myself, and I actually got this from Terry Real, is to just say boundary, boundary, boundary. When someone's saying something around me, it kind of like forces my brain to say that's them. I'm safe, there's a boundary here. And I'm partly focusing on my boundary and partly able to listen because I'm not reacting to defend myself. I can see that I'm like safe. Then I'm able to listen with compassion and say, wow, that's their experience.
But not mine to hold.
And not hold it. Yep.
So good.
Yes. So 2 really handy tools if you need them. Free tools. Here you go.
Yes. Ooh, I just remembered Alison Armstrong, our queen, our fearless leader. She put out a clip the other day. I'm sure that you saw it. She said a lot of women make the mistake of asking, is this man conscious? Is this man in integrity? Is this man emotionally empowered? And when they're so black and white like that, they often only see one perspective. The flip is, drum roll, you ask, how is this man in integrity? How is this man emotionally intelligent? How is this man leading himself? Which will let you see the divinity and the empowerment in every person, because every person is a mix of wounded and empowered. And that's kind of the band-aid we need to rip off. It's like we're not sorting between perfect and imperfect people. We are all imperfect people.
Yep.
We're just trying to teach you how to attract what you want, and also notice when what you don't want or won't pan out well is showing itself early, so that you don't invest your time and energy into someone who's kind of in their wounded, disempowered space, you know? And to notice the green flags sooner. But asking that question to yourself doesn't have to be with a specific man. I would ask it all day long. If you're serious about this, like, I don't want to attract, I know I'm looking over here. I want to look over here now and attract different. I would ask myself, like an intense boot camp, every man in front of me, how is this man generous, conscious, kind, loving, empowered? Start looking for what you want to see. It's not a trick of your brain. Literally, your reality changes.
Yes. So good. That's something I know I do in my programs. It's like force yourself to see the alternative. You have to force yourself, or else you won't. You're ingrained in this direction, and you have to consciously look the other way. Not look the other way, but like you have to look in a new direction, or else you won't see what you want. I love that because it's also shifting your vibe internally. Like the energetics are shifting. If you're asking, how is this man showing up generous? You are now putting yourself in a position to receive, because you're giving him such benefit of the doubt. You're going to pull on that generous part of him energetically, not pull in an unhealthy way, but
it'll be felt.
If he is generous, it's going to come to you. You have this space available to receive generosity now, instead of coming with this brick wall of like, oh yeah, I bet he's not generous, underlying subtext. And I've been there. That's how I know that this will shift on a dime. The more that you can see your partner as empowered, see all men as empowered, the more your experience is going to shift, where you naturally start to see empowered men more often. And even the ones who would have otherwise been quote unquote really wounded or toxic, they either just disappear or they limit their interaction with you because you're in this healthy space. I really want to see the best part of you. If he doesn't have anything great to give right now, he will self-select.
He won't even be able to make it into your vibrational vicinity. Yep. It's the reality.
That is true.
Way out. Right.
Yeah, that has 100% been my experience.
And it happens, by the way, this is such a good principle you bring up, in friendships too, in work opportunities. Like when your vibration shifts, if you're in a kind of okay place and then you elevate to believing in yourself more, and work opportunities fall away or certain friendships fall away, you're not getting it wrong. That's actually helping you because your vibration has raised. Now anything that is in alignment with you being up here is going to fall away. It's just the way the universe works. Same thing happens in business, by the way. So if you need help with this in business, you know where to come.
Expect it.
Go ahead.
Expect it. No, I love that you always say that. You had to tell me that a few weeks ago. Like, it's fine. Just, it's part of the process. Just expect it and go with it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, I don't have faith.
Because when you're in the middle of it, it won't make sense. So we're just saying, this is part of it. This is part of it. Just ride the wave.
Yes. Yeah, I hate to say the linear term good men. I hope everyone can see that it's not really that black and white at this point, but I'm just going to say it for the ease of the explanation. If I okay, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, go find us on YouTube. But if you're watching on YouTube, this will make sense. If I'm looking in this direction at the plant in front of me, all I can see is this plant in front of me. The couch behind me exists, but I don't see it right now because I'm looking in this direction. This is my reality, the paintings, the plant, the door in front of me. If I turn and look in a different direction, there's a different view and a different reality. It was always there, but I wasn't looking at it. I wasn't oriented to be able to see it. This is what we're asking you to do. It's like you're standing in a field of flowers with your eyes closed and you're saying, well, no men want to date me long term. Open your dang eyes. Look in a different direction. If you look in the direction of men who do not want commitment, you will find it. But if you look in the direction of men who do want commitment, you will also find that. I promise you. It's just the way it works.
Yep. So true. So good. And we are here to celebrate that. I was just telling Brie, we're going to do an episode like this more often just because it's so fun.
It's a good check for
recalibrate, to recalibrate that we are here for healthy men and to celebrate men in their process. Yeah, so good.
Yes. What else?
That was actually really in depth. It was like a baby coaching session.
That was very close to being, if we went another 20-30 minutes, that'd be a whole module, I think, in a course, to be honest.
Yep.
We have to discipline ourselves.
Really, yeah.
But if you like the episodes, then you know what our courses are like.
And
They are even deeper than this, because we try really hard not to give away our paid information out of respect for our current clients for free, right? But we give away a lot on the podcast.
Yep.
Our courses are much more in-depth,
Hefty.
than the podcasts. This one principle of shifting your perspective can change your whole dating experience in the best way possible.
Yeah. At any stage in the relationship, I would venture to say. I notice when I am willing to focus on what is working, it works. When I'm willing to focus on what's not working, I can find that too.
Yeah.
Because we're all human, like you said. We're not sorting good and bad. We're sorting stages of growth and in multiple categories of life.
Yes.
So it gets a little complex.
Even with your not romantic partners, but dads, brothers, service providers. And I think dads are a good example. As we're recording, this is East Coast Father's Day, but it'll release later. When we have complicated relationships with our fathers, or when you get to the stage where Courtney talks about this a lot, you're an adult child and you're seeing your parents in a new lens, it can be easier to linearly put them in a category of like, oh, my dad dropped the ball on XYZ, like he wasn't really that great of a father, whatever. And there's probably a point where that is helpful, like we talked about in the beginning. And then the hope would be that we kind of take the reins off this linear definition of what a good dad is and see people as human, and parts that they're really good at and parts that they were just human adults who had a kid. Doesn't absolve them of responsibility to parent well, by the way. But they have their own wounded parts too. People are not black and white. And this took me way too long to learn, and I hope you learned it before I did, because my cutoff game was so strong when I was dating. It really was. I told Courtney this the other day. I wish I had been a little bit more noticing people's humanity, and I hope that you'll do that with all the men who come across your path, not making excuses for bad behavior or turning a blind eye to it or pretending it's not there. It's not what we're suggesting, but people are whole people with wounded and healthy parts. And as long as someone is leading themselves through healing their wounds, I don't know that you can ask a lot more of that,
Yeah.
That's all you can really ask of somebody.
Yeah, you can ask yourself, does this work for me? How long am I willing to be in this stage with them? That's the question that you get to ask yourself. But no, I think it's an incredibly green flag if they are in a healing space and holding themselves through it. Awesome.
Great, because you're going to go through stuff together.
Yep.
So if they can lead themselves, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But you bring up the best point, which is capacity. We did a video on this on our Instagram, by the way, at the For the Love of Men podcast. THE is the For the Love of Men podcast.
Yeah, find us.
On finding out, you're gauging your own capacity.
Yeah.
For holding your partner's growth.
Yes. Yeah. And can you see them as a good man or woman, masculine or feminine partner? Can you still hold them with esteem while they're growing?
Mm-hmm.
That is next level.
Mm-hmm. Juicy.
Yeah. So good.
Any final thoughts you'd like to add?
I think this was actually really, really powerful. You will definitely be able to see next time you find yourself in a victim-y space, where can I give myself some more compassion, or where can I validate myself more? Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I would say, kind of like you always reframe breakdowns, that is such a healthy sign that things are actually shifting, is when you're aware that you're in your victim energy, because then you're not in the victim energy, you're kind of looking at the victim energy, which is always a good spot when you're aware of it.
Yeah, so you're back in your seat of consciousness.
Yeah. Anything else you want to highlight or add?
Yeah, I was gonna say something. It ran from my brain. Oh, I know. The decision, you can make the decision that your experience with a few men does not have to determine your future with all men. You get to make that decision, and everything you went through is valid. I have the utmost, you heard my podcast episode. I have the utmost compassion for that. And there was a point where I decided I can't let my experience with this person or these people contribute in its entirety to how I think about all men, because number one, it's not true. That's just generally untrue, right? All men are bad is just an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what I choose or want for myself. And I know that I create my reality by how I radiate and what I choose. And I don't want that. So how do I be with this part of me that needs the compassion and to be seen for what happened to me, and let that part kind of come along into a new reality and open up to a different perspective? And you can do it all at once. You can be healing with compassion while opening up to healthy men coming into your row. That was exactly my path. And you'll notice the more you have compassion and heal that part, the faster things move on the attracting and healthy men piece. It's really quite linear when you approach it from an energetic and internal healing perspective.
Such a great point. That felt so tender. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And if you want support, Courtney and I are here. We both have separate coaching practices, but you're in good hands with both of us. So feel free to reach out to Courtney or I. We have in the show notes all kinds of stuff. We both have feminine energy courses. We both have one-to-one coaching if you want to work more closely, if this is really resonating. So all of that will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then make sure you follow us on YouTube for the Love of Men podcast, and on Instagram at the For the Love of Men podcast, and the TikTok for the Love of Men podcast. Personal Instagrams, Courtney_Shand and at Building Bree.
Man, you're just taking this. Thank you. Wow. The outro. This is Bree.
I used to do the outro all the time. Remember, we used to
Bree
switch off
sets
and
us
on?
up. Yeah. Yep.
And then I just got lazy and I let Courtney do it all. I'll just take it off. Put it back on.
I don't feel that way.
Okay, good.
But it is always nice when you show up that way too. But I love this episode.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. She loves the episode.
I love this content. I love this episode. We will put what we have in the show notes if you're resonating with this. I think there's specific places that you can start.
Yes.
And go deeper. As deep as you want. You can integrate all of this wisdom and information, and we are here for it.
Yes.
We also have some masterclasses that we have done together that are really fun. If you want to learn how to create more safety for your partner, so that he naturally opens up more emotionally, or if you are thinking, what the heck do women want? We have a masterclass for that too. Don't you worry.
Tried and true, by the way.
It's a good one. We have, what, 3 now? 3
Yeah.
masterclasses?
Navigating triggers, that's the last
And the
one.
triggers. Man, that one was a gold mine.
I would have paid 100 times
Yes.
what we're charging for that when I really needed it.
Yeah, we have put that one to practice. We have refined it. We've got it down to an art, and we share it with you. So feel free. We're going to put all that in the show notes, and we will see you guys next time.
See you later.
To
Hang on. Sorry, you have to press the red button.
Oh.
I should have let you keep talking.
For how long? How long
I
are you going to
pranked
keep
you. I
working?
should have said ridiculous stuff. Okay, you ready?
Yep.